It's been a long day already. So, who am I and why am I here? So, me and Isabel actually connected via LinkedIn. She reached out and saw the mission of CDI and I really, really identify with the mission. Partly because, I'm a 1.5 generation Afro Latina that immigrated from Colombia. So, I understand, coming from that background into like a university, not knowing, you know, a lot of the resources and things that are available. So my mom actually did go to college. I'm not first generation, but I was first generation in the United States. My sister actually went to school before me, but then dropped out. So I didn't have any like, role models or anything like that when it came to like how to go to school in the United States. And so I had to figure all of that out. And from there, I actually went to a couple of other companies, which I'll get to in a second. But, throughout my journey, I realized like all of the external things that I did is not who I actually am. And so I want to remind you all of that, all of you of that, that you get to choose who you want to be. And, these are the adjectives that I choose for myself. So I don't describe myself, right off the bat as like what I do, but I really, really try to remind people I'm a light. I'm a trailblazer. I'm a connector at heart. Like that's what I love to do, and that's why I'm here. And most of all, I am powerful. So I want you to do this exercise for me. I do this in all of my sessions, and it really helps connect you with yourself and realize your power and connect back to your power. So if you want to go ahead and take a deep breath with me, I know it sounds woo, but trust me, you'll feel so much more powerful after this. So go ahead and take a deep breath. And then repeat, I am powerful. And I want you to actually repeat it to the screen. Look at yourself while you're saying it and say, I am powerful. All right? Say it one more time because I know the first time is kind of a little wonky. So, I am powerful. Okay? Look at yourself one more time and say, I am powerful. All right. How does everybody feel? Do you feel that power activated a little bit? Yeah? Go ahead and put in the chat if you felt that. I saw, I can't see any names right now, but I saw a couple of smiles and I'm like, yes, love it, love to see it. So, okay, Isabel, you feel sparks. I love it. And that's exactly what I want you to feel because although I have a lot of knowledge that I'm going to share with you right now, all of the workshop leads had a lot of knowledge, you have the power. And everything that you take today, and learn today will help fuel that power even more. So go ahead and give yourself a round of applause for even being here. I'm really excited for all of you. So what do? I do a lot, but what I do is help ignite change within people so they can make their dreams career realities. So I really love to show people possibilities and be like, hey, if you want to do this, these are the steps to actually do them, right? And help break down the process because your dreams are only like, depending on where you are, like one step away or, 30 steps away or 100 steps away, right? But literally every single step that you take, you're going towards your dreams, right? So brands that I've worked with and kind of getting back to my story a little bit, like I mentioned, and I'm sorry, I have a new puppy and she is, she wants attention right now. So if you hear that, I'm so sorry. I didn't prepare for that. But some of the brands I've worked with, Facebook, Twitter, Andreessen Horowitz, Asana, I'm working with Berkeley right now. I've worked with Stanford. These are brands that I didn't even think that I could work for. I didn't think that I could, I didn't know that they even had jobs, right? To be honest. And somehow I was able to get there. And that's why I do what I do because being from my background, being 1.5 generation, moving here at the age of 9, being low income, at one point I was on like food stamps and we didn't have a place to live. And then, fast forward 15, 20 years later, I was in Andreessen Horowitz, which actually backed up, so funded companies like Facebook and Twitter and like rubbing elbows with people who, I didn't even think, I could ever know. So all of that to say is that let me serve as an example for you because anything that you want to do is absolutely possible and you have the resources, you have the support system to actually make that happen. And that's what I'm here to do today, to talk to you a little bit more about that. Again, I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm a small business. So if you see any gems, please share online and connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love that. And yeah, before we get started, I just want to share, a little bit about just the crazy times that we are in right now. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It kind of sucks, right? Job searching kind of sucks right now. You're at home, you're not, being able to go out into the world. You're not able to interact in the same way. So of course, it's going to be really difficult. However, this journey, sometimes when it's difficult, it's the most profound transformation that you can actually make, right? And so I want everyone here to figure out exactly what you can do to make the job search process and just, really empowering yourself a fun process and put some joy into it, right? And that means being really compassionate with yourself depending on the day. Because today you chose to show up. Today you're here, you woke up early on a Saturday and you're like, all right, cool, I'm gonna take all the notes, I'm gonna do all the things. Tomorrow that might not be the case, right? Tomorrow you might wanna just Netflix and chill, and that's okay, right? And I want to leave you with that because I think that as students of color, sometimes we have so much pressure on ourselves and our families and our community, and we're probably the only people that are like, that we know that are like working this hard, and it can be a lot. And so being really compassionate with yourself, especially when there's a pandemic going on, especially when there's so much hate in the world, with the hate crimes that are going on right now, it's hard. So really give kudos to yourself and really give yourself what you need on any particular day, right? So I'm not here to say, go hard or go home. No, that's not what I'm here to say, right? I'm saying wake up in the morning and be like, what do I want to do? What do I need right now to feel okay? Because the more that you give yourself whatever it is that you need to feel okay, then you're going to be able to restart and motivate yourself, every day to do a little bit more, right? And it's going to come from a place of fullness and not from a place of lack or like that you need to. Because I've been there, right? I've done that. I've worked from a place of lack, right? And like I said, I worked for all these brands, Facebook, Twitter, Andreessen Horowitz, Asana, and I got fired. I got fired 3 times. I got laid off. And it wasn't until I literally sat down and was like, what is it that I actually need and actually want right now that led me to create my company, right? That led me to actually invest in myself in a way where I felt like I could give back. And that was extremely hard and extremely difficult, and it still is because I started a business during like 2 months before the pandemic hit, right? 3 months before the pandemic hit. It's still difficult, but it's on my terms. So what all of that to say is really be kind with yourself, really check in with yourself, because your journey doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be, you grinding and doing all of this, and it doesn't, right? Some days it will be, but those days will be the days that you want to be in that position. Those days are going to be the days that you want to show up. And sometimes you're going to have to push yourself a little bit and be like, you do need to show up, you do need to do this, but then treat yourself afterwards, right? And really practice that balance, and that's going to help you implement everything that you learned here so much better than just being like, you know what, let me just do everything, and then you're really tired, and then you're like, I don't have any more to give, or I failed. Right? Because you are giving your best every single day, and your best is going to look different. So, just accepting that and being okay with that and telling yourself that really, really is going to change your mindset on how you approach like jobs and careers and everything like that, because it's really going to come up from a place of mindfulness, or a place of fullness, and really going to help you really create the career of your dreams, right? So with that, I'm going to go ahead and go into the Q&A. So keeping in mind that everything said is confidential, give everybody the space to speak. If anyone is asking a question, I'm going to ask people to land the plane, right? We don't have that much time, so I want to make sure that we all have space and time to chat. Practice non-judgment. Some people are going to say something. I've said things that you're probably like, oh my God. Practice talking to that voice and being like, you know what? I'm not gonna listen to that voice, and I'm just gonna listen to what the person is saying. And then listen intently, because people are really trying to share their stories. People really just want to be seen. So listening is really, really powerful. All right. With that, these are some of the questions that y'all submitted prior. So I'm gonna start with those, and then we're gonna have a Q&A afterwards, okay? So how do you choose what job you want to pursue? That's question number 1. How many of you in the chat are in that same boat right now, trying to figure out what job to pursue? +1 for you're trying to figure out, +2 you already got it figured out. +1.5. I love it. You're like, I can't decide. I love it. Okay. All right, so kind of a mixed bag. So this question, right, is really personal. And a lot of the times we try to maybe ask other people, it's like, what should I do? Like, how do I choose? And the reality is, you really choose by asking yourself and really sitting down and being still, right? And that's really, really hard for a lot of us high achievers that want to just go and get stuff done. The reality is, you're not going to be able to figure out what job you can choose if you're doing other things and distracting yourself in that way, right? It's all about being intentional. It's all about sitting down with yourself and being like, okay, what do I enjoy? What gives me energy? And what doesn't, right? And mind you, just because you're good at something does not mean that it gives you energy, right? So you could be really, really great at, I don't know, like, I'm trying to figure out. So, like, you could just be great at something. So for me, for example, I tried coding, right? I was like, oh, I'm a recruiter and I work with engineers who code all day. You know, I need to know the lingo. I need to know what they're doing. So let me try it. No, right? I tried it, and every time I tried it, I was like, I was making excuses not to do it. I was like, I don't want to go. Like, it was really cool, but I just wasn't feeling it. And so that told me that doesn't energize me. But waking up on a Saturday morning, knowing that I have a talk with, you know, really brilliant people energizes me, and I'm here and I'm able to show up, right? And so I really want you to ask yourself, like, what energizes you and what really gets you out of bed in the morning, right? And that doesn't mean that you're going to do that specific job right now, but it helps to know the context so you can figure out jobs that have that as a main component. And start building a list of different roles that then you can be like, okay, 40% of my time or 50% of my time, I will be doing something that energizes me. And maybe 50% of the time, I'm not going to be doing something that, you know, energizes me. Like, that's my first job, right? And then the second job, you want to get that percentage closer to 100, right? But it's never going to be 100% of just things that energize you, even when you're an entrepreneur and even when you have your own thing, because there's still things that we're going to have to do at work that we don't like and that don't energize us, right? But the key is finding a role that really lets us do what energizes us the most. All right, any questions on that? Okay. All right, question number 2. When applying to jobs, what is the best way to showcase your skills when your current job title may not reflect it? A really good question. Who in the chat or the Zoom call feels this way right now? That they're like, oh, I have a job and I don't have the skills for it. +1 if you feel this way, +2 if you don't. Okay. Mm-hmm. Marab, like +1 all the way, all the time. You're like, I don't know. I don't have the skills. Anyone else? +1 or +2? I just want to know how everyone is feeling so I can kind of tailor my message to you all. +1.5, another 1.5. Love to see it, right? Like variety and you know, not choosing just one thing is great. So, you know, when you feel this way, and even if you have the skills to get your, you know, the job that you want, it's all about how you showcase impact, right? And if you don't have the skills, figure out what are skills that are adjacent, right? So in every job that you have a job description, right? Has anybody seen a job description before? Yeah, most of us, right? It says, hey, we are looking for a person that is X, right? And this is what they'll do. And this is how much, we'll pay them and all of that stuff. But the first two things in the job description tell you exactly what they're looking for, right? So what you do is you literally take that job description, print it out, and go through it and be like, do I have this? Yes or no, right? And be really honest with yourself when you do that. If you find that you don't have most of it, right? Be like, okay, I don't have like most of it, but what are some things that I do have that are similar to this, right? So for example, a lot of us want to go into a corporate job, right? And want to work with clients and want to do, like different things, work for big brands, right? But some of us have, like, I'll use my example. I started off my career as my first job, or my second job was as a cashier at HEB, which is a grocery store, right? That's where I started. I didn't have any fancy jobs or anything like that. I was a cashier at a grocery store. Um, and in that job, I learned customer service, right? I learned customer service. I learned how to problem solve. I learned how to de-escalate. I learned how to, time manage, right? Because even though all I was doing was ringing up stuff for people, right? That gave me, I think, probably 50 interactions a day to practice customer service, to practice how to talk to somebody that I didn't know, right? To practice how to be able to have a smile on my face while still doing my job, right? So that is a skill, right? That is a skill that I can do now, still today, because of that job as a cashier. Because I'm sitting here smiling at you, still, like, in the back of my mind, being like, oh, I have to deliver, I have to speak, right? I can do that because I've learned how to do that with my job. So, when you look at like speaking, for example, you're like, all right, cool, what do you need? You need customer service, you need engagement, you need excitement. These are all things I learned when I was a cashier, right? And so it's all about figuring out the adjacent things, because once you figure those out, then you can craft your resume and you can craft every bullet point to showcase exactly what they're asking for in the JD in different ways, right? In ways that feel like adjacent to what your experience is. Then, after that, really evaluate and be like, okay, all right, if I don't have what it takes, right? If I don't have the skills, what can I do to actually get them? And then work towards that. Make that your goal, right? And then figure out what job can you do in the meantime so that it can be a stepping stone to get there, right? And if you have all of the skills and you're kind of suffering from imposter syndrome, then, really think about, how have I done this, and quantify the way that you've done it, right? So meaning, all right, how have I made the impact, right? How have I, helped the company that I'm working for? How have I, how many people have I served? How many things have I created? Things like that that really showcase what impact you can have. Because if you don't have the skill set, you for sure have the impact, right? And so you can even show that. Any questions on that? Okay. And I saw Marab said, I also I doubt myself all the time. That is completely normal. I doubt myself all the time.
So again,
Yeah.
quantify. I've done all this. I'm great. I'm awesome. I'm amazing. This is a list of all things I've done. Oh, you were
Mhm.
so right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, oh, thank you so much, Rob. I appreciate that. But but the thing is, like, we've all done things, and it's okay if you're not at, like, your dream job. It's okay if, like, you don't have all of the things for your dream job, because guess what? You can work towards that and then get jobs that are going to get you closer. That is it. Remember we talked about the journey of, like, you're either one step away from your goal, or 30 steps, or 100 steps.
Yeah.
All you have to do is take those little steps, because the
You
more you take those
affirm
little steps, you're gonna get there. What were
affirm
you saying, Rob?
you affirm yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
You quantify, affirm what your journey has been.
Mm-hmm.
Will let you take the next step. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. I should not be talking. But
No, you're
yeah,
all good. Thank you so much for, thank you
yeah,
for,
it's true. Like just affirm and acknowledge what you've done already,
mm-hmm,
and it'll give you confidence to make the next step.
mm-hmm, exactly.
You're the best. I'm learning so much.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you so, so much. I really, really appreciate that. I'm still getting over it because at a job, I think maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe like 4 years ago, I was going to lead something similar to this. And my boss straight out told me, you don't have what it takes, right? You don't, like, straight up was like, you are not good enough to do this. So when I say like it's a journey, like 5 years ago, I probably could have, and it wouldn't have been as engaging. But like 5 years of work let me do this, almost seamlessly, right? And so it's just every step of the way is working towards something and being like, okay, where you are, okay. Question number 3. How can you make your LinkedIn profile interesting or stand out to employers? So taking what I was saying before, right, of quantifying everything and putting what's on your resume, making sure it's reviewed and making sure that, you put everything on your resume on your LinkedIn, like bullet points and things like that, but also get involved and really like go after what you are passionate about. So if you really like, I don't know, chess, let's say, find a group of chess people, right, that are on LinkedIn and that, like to play chess. You don't know where those people work, right? But you have something in common. So if you have that in common, then you can go after them and be like, okay, hey, like come check out my profile. Like I also love to play chess, or I also love to like, read these types of books or whatever that may be, right? And then also be active on there. Comment on people's posts. Go and post stories that you find interesting, because the more that you do that, the more people are gonna like take notice of you and then go to your profile and want to connect, right? And also put yourself out there. Go to other people's profiles and don't be afraid to like click connect, right? And say something that is going to stand out to that person, right? Not necessarily just about their job, but just who they are as a person, because the more that you connect with a person personally, the more that they're going to want to help you, right? Because they're going to not receive a personalized message at every time. Most people, when they want to connect with people on LinkedIn, say, hey, I need advice on this. Can you help me? That's not great, right? Instead, if someone's like, hey, I noticed that you're great at X, that is really awesome because I'm also really interested in X. Like, could we chat for 15 minutes sometime about it? Right? That seems a lot nicer. So remember, be kind. All right, question number 4. What are the best questions to ask during an interview? And this is really, really important, right? So, who's interviewing right now? +1 in the chat if you are, +2 if you're not. +2. All right. Okay. +2. All right. So we're not interviewing yet. That's fine, right? What we're working towards is getting ready for that interview. So once you're in the interview, the best questions to ask is those you want to know, right? Like if you want to know something, ask. And I say that because if you are working for a company that you want to work for and is going to be supportive to you, they'll be okay with the questions that you ask, right? As long as you don't ask them in a rude way. Okay, so like one that comes to mind is like diversity, right? If you're asking about diversity efforts, like you want to ask somebody, or like diversity efforts to see how comfortable you'll feel in that environment. You don't want to just ask somebody, so um, like kind of like accusatory, right? You want to just ask them and come from a place of curiosity and be like, hey, it's really important to me to be in an inclusive space. What are some of the things that you're doing in order to make people of color feel comfortable at the company, right? Versus something like, you know, I see a lot of white people here. What's up, right? Don't do that because that comes from an accusatory place, right? Another thing is really ask about the job and what you'll be doing so that you know exactly what the role will be and can talk to that experience. And the last thing is like ask about management and how they're going to help you succeed. Okay? And actually, one more thing is ask for the job. right? A lot of us don't ask for the job. When we leave, we're like, okay, all right, thanks, this was great. Instead of being like, is there anything else that you need to know in order to move me forward? Or based on what you know about me and what we've discussed, what, would you feel comfortable moving forward? And if not, what do you need to know? Right? That is called closing an interview so that you're able to understand exactly kind of how you did and what you actually portrayed to the interviewer. Whether you get that job or not, the answer to that question is invaluable because you'll get feedback and you'll be like, oh, maybe I should have talked more about this so I could have showcased more of like my technical ability or more of like the way that, I'm really passionate about the company. Okay. And then last question, because I know we are 1 minute over time, is what is the best way to negotiate pay? Has anyone negotiated before? +1 in the chat or +2. +2 if you have not negotiated. All right, so some have not. Negotiation is the hardest thing to do. Why? Because we don't talk about money. Who was the last person you talked about money with?
Myself.
Yourself,
Yeah.
right? When is the last time you talked to somebody else about money and not just asking for it, right? But really talking about your financial situation? Maybe your financial aid person who's there to help you. Maybe your parents who, like, depending, can be receiving. But most of the time, we don't talk about money, right? So the best way to negotiate pay is to prepare yourself and practice. So prepare yourself by understanding how much you should get paid, right? Go on, I think, Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS.gov, or I think it's PayScale as well. There's a bunch of different websites where you can go in and be like, okay, this is my level of experience. This is where I'm at. How much should I be getting paid, right? And then go in with that number and be like, okay, is this how much I want to get paid, or do I want to get paid more, right? And think about, okay, if I want to get more, does it only have to be in salary, or can I get this in benefits, right? Can I get this with a like 401k match, or with like extra vacation, or kind of negotiate different things, right? Understanding what you're asking for is number one. And then two, practice with everybody around you and practice being uncomfortable. This is going to be an uncomfortable situation because you're going to have to bring something up and the company is actually trying to not give it to you, right? Because they want to get you as cheap as possible. Because I think there's like a statistic on like pay, right? And spend, especially around like gender and race like disparities, that if you get in at like one level, like in the lifetime that you're with that company, they'll like pay you like it's like 40 or 50% or something like that, that they'll pay you less because of like promotions and things like that. So you want to make sure the first salary that you're getting is one that you're comfortable with, because that's what your raises are going to be like based off of, right? So practice, right? And the last thing to negotiate is stay silent, right? Have a poker face. Ask it. Ask for $100,000, right? That's really uncomfortable to ask for. I've done it before, right? Ask for $100,000 and then just be like, okay, right? Or when they offer you money, right? Because they should offer you first. You shouldn't ask for it before they offer you the salary, right? Because you want to figure out what their range is. You want to just stay silent when they give you the number. So if someone gave you $50,000 right now, you'd probably be like, oh my God, yes, right? That's not what you want to do. You'd be like, thank you. I will take that into consideration, right? And then silence. Because you want to show your poker face. You don't want to show them that you're really excited, because guess what? They're going to be like, oh, we can get it at 50,000. But if you negotiate, you could get 60, even 75, right? So it's all about figuring out what you want, about letting them ask you first and then staying silent, and then practicing with having these different conversations. And with that, I think we are done. We are at the Q&A portion. We are a little bit over, so I want to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. But I hope that was helpful for everybody. And if anybody has any other questions, I'm happy to stay on to chat a little bit more.
Thank you, Catalina. I learned so much. I was taking notes while you were talking. I was like, this is great. And I'm glad you emphasized a lot of the great points with the quantifying your experience. I love this poker face thing. I find it really funny, but it's true. Like we don't talk about it enough or practice it enough. And so when we get into those spaces, we're like, oh crap. So thank you for keeping it real and for sharing a lot of your insight. From just the chat and the faces I see, I think it was very helpful. I know I don't want to take up more of your time as well, so we'll drop the survey link one more time in the chat. If not, you should receive it in the email. But thank you to you, to everyone still here. I appreciate everyone's time, and I hope you learned a lot, took some great notes, and follow up on a lot of those connections that hopefully you made today. And with that, happy Saturday, happy spring, spring forward, and all the great stuff. And please do keep in touch, whether you're a scholar, an alum, a mentor, guest, all the above. Please do keep in touch. We'll be here. Thank
All
you
right.
all.
Well,
Thank you, Catalina.
thank you all.
Thank you, staff. You guys are the best.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for joining. Thanks, Dave. Thank you, Diego. Thanks, Murad. Bye, Murad. Alrighty, Diego. I will see you Monday. Yes, or am I crazy?
Yes, regular now.
Okay, cool. So we'll figure out spring break. But thank you for all your help. We'll wrap up. We do have some to-dos afterwards, so we'll wrap up on this. But thank you. I hope you learned something. So
yeah,
helpful.
I saw the recording.
Oh.